Well, I think we do have a number of people who are hopefully online and able to see. Thankfully, I've just had a message saying that Melanie can see me, which is great. One of my colleagues is having some slight technical issues. Angela was supposed to be joining me this afternoon to share some of the experiences. Angela might well join us. Fingers crossed she sorts out some of the technical issues that she's experiencing currently, and hopefully we'll get her online really soon. And I'm sure Melanie's going to do her best to support Angela in getting online. Now, I did have some slides that I thought I might share with you today. Unfortunately, we're having some interesting challenges with the technology, so you've got me and my lovely face. So I apologise profusely. I will share the slides afterwards, but really they're just a bit of an aid memoir for me rather than anything else. So just to kind of make a start, I'm here to talk to you about my navigated way into the world of IT and how some of the challenges I encountered along the way. And I suppose in preparation for this, I kind of reflected on why it's important for us to talk about some of this out in a forum like this. And I think one of the bits that I reflected on was around the amount of women in technology type roles in the tech sector. And depending on which report you read, it's between 16 and 19% of women are in the tech sector, of which 23% of women are in leadership roles. Now, taking a step back from that, grown up in council estate in the West End of Newcastle, I would never ever have expected myself to end up in a senior role within an IT department. I grew up, like I said, in a council estate, and the people around me were all very working class, very little money. None of the people who I went to school with in my street went to college. None of their parents did. There was no university qualifications. So from that perspective, we very much were in the era where the boys did computer studies and the girls did cooking. So a girl moving in the tech sector wasn't really on the cards at all. And through a number of life choices, I found myself in my 20s thinking, how the heck did I get here? And I was bringing up a small child. I was divorced. I hadn't finished my A levels because I'd made some life choices that had some implications. And actually, my focus in life was to get a job to support me and my son. So a career was one of the last things that was on my mind in my 20s, because I literally was looking for a job, and one that fitted in and around the school, in and around being able to take Michael to school on a morning and then being able to pick him up afterwards. And I did find some jobs. I found some really good jobs, thankfully. I worked for a while as a chart albums buyer for Virgin Records, a games buyer there as well. And then I did some customer service type roles, and eventually found myself in an organisation, well-known organisation in the Northeast called Sage. And again, up until this point, it was literally about having a job and salary and making sure that I could provide for Michael and having that job security. Moving on into my 30s is probably where I would say I kind of took a step back and thought, oh, I might actually be able to have a career here. Michael was a bit older. Things in my life had changed. I felt a bit more secure in my life. And, an opportunity came up back in 2000 to work as part of a project that was replacing a CRM product within the organization, within Sage. And I had a great opportunity to help do some business value mapping, business process mapping, and then, help to actually inform how the product was being developed. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was great. And I worked really hard, and I got some really great experiences through that, and an opportunity presented itself a couple of years later to actually move into the IT department. And yeah, I hummed and hawed and thought, oh, should I? Don't really have the experience. I didn't really know how it was going to pan out, but that was an opportunity. I thought, right, okay, let's just go for it. So I did. And I found myself in a department where there perhaps wasn't the customer service ethos that I was used to. So straight away, I felt I was able to add some value at imparting some customer service. And this is really before the adoption of ITIL. Angela has managed to join us in here somewhere, so hopefully we'll be able to hand over to Angela when she's ready. So yeah, so I found myself in an IT department, being able to add value with that customer service ethos, and that kind of built my confidence a little bit. And I was really, really lucky. There was two people who I would call out that really had a massive change on my life. And that was a chap called John Morgan and a lady called Julia Wedgwood. And both of those people saw potential in me that I didn't know, that I didn't see, and actually gave me the belief in myself. So along the way, I'd been able to do some management qualifications, and I got involved in application support, writing application support, writing test scripts, implementing release management, and setting up an end-to-end test environment, which was amazing. Throughout that time, I was then, working on myself as an individual. And shortly after having two more children, I decided I was going to go to university and do a degree. So I was working full time, two children under the age of 5, and I was putting in long hours in the uni. Got a first, qualified with a first in the Dean's Award back in 2013. So there's quite a long time's passed throughout this period, but I'd worked really hard throughout. I made some life choices, some different ones. I wanted to spend some more time with Megan and Kira, who were my two youngest children, and thought I couldn't do that with the amount of hours that I was working. So I decided I would leave Sage, and I then worked for an organisation called Your Homes Newcastle, and was able to kind of thrive there. Moving forward another 5 or 6 years, I was able to then secure a position with the NHS, and again start adding some real value. Reflecting back on some of that journey, I think one of the things that kind of sticks out for me in all of this is the lack of role models at senior positions within the tech sector. So first of all, I had no idea that yeah, that's a really good question. First of all, I had no idea how to actually get into IT, and it was really very, very lucky that this opportunity occurred. But coming into that, there was nobody who I could aspire to be. There wasn't a senior IT person that was a lady or who'd managed to have children and come back. So to answer your question, Emily, how did I manage to juggle all the things in your life and other commitments while studying? I have to say, I lived on steak, crisps, and coffee. I was in a fortunate position at YHN where I was working compressed hours. So I would do 5 days over 4, and I went to university 2 nights a week between 6 and 9. So I literally went to work in the morning, straight to university till 9 o'clock. My husband has been incredibly supportive, and I would not have been able to do that without the support of my husband. He was absolutely splendid. I have to say though, he was returning a favour, Emily, because prior to that, he'd been studying for his accountancy So I did all of that while he was doing his accountancy, and then we actually swapped roles. So what I did is I spent a lot of time in the library on a night time, and yeah, sometimes it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I was getting up at 6 to go to work. So 4 hours sleep, it's great. But juggling the things, I suppose one of the things I would say to you is it wasn't about juggle. I had real focus. I really wanted to achieve this degree. I really wanted to get that. I, I, if we reflect back on where I started with the story, I left school because I was pregnant. I'm going to be quite open about that. It's what happened. I didn't finish my A levels, so I had a real burning desire to finish the journey that I had started when I was 16, so that I could actually put that to bed. It was something that was really, really strong. I was really, really driven about it. I was really committed to it. And I remember having a conversation with my boss at the time, a lovely chap called Jeff, who said, how are you going to juggle all of these things, Kirsty? You're saying you want to get a first out of this. How are you going to juggle all of that? And you just do, don't you? So yeah, good tag team to help and support each other was absolutely critical in all of this. And I was really, really fortunate. The role model side of it is something that's very, very prevalent to me now and very noticeable to me now, that there isn't that many, especially in the tech sector. The other element that I kind of noticed was that the roles within the tech sector, I had assumed were all sitting hard coding things for 8 hours a day, which is not who I am. Yes, I can do a little bit of coding, but I wasn't very good at it. But from my perspective, I didn't know the range of roles that were available. So things like from your service management roles to your business analysis, your technical analysis, your service desk, your application support, problem solving, all of those things I had no idea were there until I was on the inside. And one of the things that I really want to kind of commit to is actually demystifying and sharing some of that opportunity and knowledge about how to get into IT type roles. Here in in the world that we live in now, you've got such a great combination of the arts as well as STEM type topics, and we hear the term STEAM coming into it now instead of just STEM, but some of that real customer facing, user centric design, user research, user experience, as well as understanding your technical stack, the service management, the testing, down right all the way through. There's such a wide variety of opportunities there. The other element I wanted to kind of pick up on there is, you might have noticed I said I had two small children in that time as well. And one of the things that I did find a bit of a challenge in all of this is when I took time out to have the children. So, I'd concluded I wanted to do a career. I'd made a start on the career, and then we decided we're going to have some more children, which is great. And then you have this 6 or 9 or 12 month maternity leave, and you're not quite operating on all cylinders while you're pregnant either, because you're tired, you're uncomfortable, and all of the rest of the stuff that you have to deal with. So, coming back from maternity leave was really quite a challenge, was probably more of a challenge than juggling the study and the children, because I'd been out of the organisation for a while. I didn't know, what people were doing. I felt disconnected. And one of the opportunities that I had moving into Your Homes Newcastle as an organisation was to actually undertake some coaching qualifications. And because of my life experiences coming back from maternity leave, I was able to actually give some insight and support to other returning mums coming back in from maternity leave. And a really common statement that people had was around the insecurity they have coming back in from maternity leave. So it was really, really interesting for us to kind of consider that element of it, and for me to be able to offer some insight and support. And within Johan's Newcastle, one of the things that I did was offer some coaching support to returning mums, which I found very, very valuable. There's there's a couple of things that I would offer up as far as my observations through the years. Everybody has challenges, and overcoming challenges is hard work. It's not easy, and it's no point in anybody thinking it is going to be easy. But life is about making those choices, and taking a chance when you see an opportunity, really grabbing it with both hands, and making sure you make and you own that opportunity. You might be terrified, but actually doing that is, it's an incredible thing to kind of respond to. And that would be one of my key takeaways. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is, I do have a quote here from Michelle Obama, and I'm going to read it out to you in the absence of slides. When you've worked hard and done well and walked through that doorway of opportunity, you do not slam it shut behind you. You reach back and you give other folks the same chances that helped you succeed. Now, that's something that's incredibly important to me. And the reason why it's important is because all of my life, I have been very mindful of being able to take people on the journey with me and being able to support others. So when we have the opportunity to help develop other people or support other people, we have to make sure we take them with us and actually ask them to do the same. So I'm minded of a time where I had a chap working for me called Stephen Walker. You won't mind me mentioning him. And he was in his third year of his degree, and he wanted to go across to Germany to do his placement year. And he came to me and he said, I'm going to do this, and I'm really sorry. I really want to stay, but I really want to do this as well. So I said, right, well, that's okay, because we'll just do it as a career break. And, when you're done, you can just come back. And he was really quite shocked. He said, well, why would you do that? And Stephen had said he wanted to go to Germany. So I said to him that we would just keep his job open. And he asked me why would I do that for him? So he'd been a good employee. He'd contributed, he was going to go away and learn some stuff, and then he was going to come back and we'd benefit from it in the long run. So, why would you not do that for somebody? The only one thing that I asked him to do was to make sure that he contributed to somebody else's future. So that's the only thing I ask of any of the people who work for me, is if you see somebody who needs an opportunity, who needs some support, who needs you to help them along the way, then please reach out for them. Please help them. Please give them that support and that engagement, because actually, if you're going to pay it forward, and somebody else is going to benefit from that movement, from that in the future. So that's the other thing that kind of really resonates with me throughout any of my career. I want to kind of move the conversation on slightly, but please feel free if you've got any questions or anything, please do shout up. But I do want to move the conversation on a little bit to talk about some of the stuff we have done collectively within the BSA and some of the strategy that we've taken. So thinking about where I've come from and why, you maybe understand why I've adopted the strategy I have. So thinking about some of the things that we've done, I thought we're going to have to develop a pool of talent. There's no easy fixes to bringing talent along a journey. You have to invest time. You know that if you invest time, it might take a little while for it to bubble to the surface, and some of your talent might bubble to the surface quicker than others, but ultimately you're going to have to put a bit of time and effort into it. So with that in mind, we wanted to have a look at, from a strategy perspective, of making sure that we thought about the learning potential that people might have, rather than do they fit a set of skills already. So one of the things that we've changed in the way that we approach our interviewing, for example, or our recruitment, I should say, is about turning it around to go and look at the learning potential somebody has. So they might not be fully formed, but that's okay, because actually, if they've got good learning potential, what we'll do is we'll make sure that we give them the support, and we'll nurture them. Another key part of the strategy is to look at the language that we're using, and Angela will cover that a little bit more when she talks about the pathway information. But looking at the language that we use within the job descriptions, within the job adverts, are they supportive? Are they nurturing languages? Are they very, male orientated? Are they not? Who's it going to encourage to apply? How are we going to get that different person in through the door? Another strategy that we've adopted is around looking at alternative pools of talent, and working those up differently. So Angela's going to cover off in a little bit about career pathways, but using that career pathways as a concept across multiple entry points. So creating some of those entry level roles. And I wish I did have the slides to show you, but I'll make sure they get shared after this anyway for people who'd like to look through them. But making sure that you change the shape of your people, so you're creating entry level roles and you're creating that movement throughout. So one of the areas I am particularly passionate about. I'm sorry, my children are a bit noisy in the background. Just one of the areas I've been really very passionate about is veterans. Just to give you a little bit of history, my dad was in the army for 12 years, and my younger brother, was in the army for 22 years. And watching my brother come out of the army, I have to say I was a bit sad. He'd invested 24 years actually in the army, and there wasn't a huge amount of support from coming out. And from that perspective, he then got this kind of 0-hour job, and he'd had all of this experience, masses and masses of experience, and it was a real shame to see him as an individual not really gain his potential. So anyway, that made me think, and I got involved with AWS. They have a restart program. They're changing it now for army veterans. And in essence, they would train them up in AWS stuff, and they were looking for people to do placements. And I was in some presentation, there was a bullet about it on the screen. So I went and found out a bit more. And I found myself down in Manchester in front of a group of veterans talking about the BSA. That was 3 years ago now. And we didn't have any veterans at that point. And we're very, very fortunate now to have 6 veteran placements, of which several of them have gone on to then secure permanent roles, which has been brilliant. And Emma Howitson-Morley is one of our brilliant role models, who'd been in the army for 18 years, was very, very senior in the army, and has changed career. So she's a great person. If you want me to do any connections with Emma after this, I'm quite happy to do some introductions. And she's got a very different career story, which is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'm just looking there. There's a question from Arnie, coming from an entrepreneurial background, struggle to get into tech companies from a project management perspective. I think my advice would be to explore agile project management as well. And some of the things that we see at the moment is, if you're very Prince 2, it's a very specific group of organizations that will only just use Prince 2, where now I think you need to be multidisciplined, would be my advice. So go and find out about agile project management, and use some of the language and some of the wording around that as well. Can't seem to get your foot in the front door. They all seem to want computer science engineering degree. Right. So that's quite interesting, I think. But if you look at the Agile project management, Agile business analysis, Agile Scrum Master, all of that sort of thing is delivery focused and will give you a more rounded picture as to how to get in the door. Okay, I'm going to move on slightly around before I hand over to Angela around why. Why do I do all of this? Apart from my life story, so everybody's values based. We bring from our past into our future, and I've had some challenges, but I've brought them in a positive way into my present and into my future. And I'm really, really passionate about definitely attracting and promoting the talent that we have. I think we've got some incredible honestly, I wish I had everybody who I could kind of drag into this conversation, because we've got some fascinating people who've been on some incredible journeys throughout their career. We've got one chap, for example, who was working for British Airways. He'd done a bit of development work, but had been fed up with the whole IT world, gone off and done his own microbrewery, and then came to us about 12 months ago after being out of IT for about 3 or 4 years. And it was like, yeah, let me back into IT. And he had great, fantastic spirit, drive, enthusiasm, great potential for learning. And he's one of the top automated testers now, 12 months later, which is absolutely brilliant. And we want to create opportunities as well. So, we've got some amazing people who are working in our contact center, in our prescription processing center, who are such a wealth of untapped talent. And which is one of the reasons why when we were looking at the career pathways, we kind of went, this is a brilliant idea to do this internally. And one of our internal parts of the organization was already doing this. So why reinvent the wheel? And at that point, I'm now going to hand over to Angela.
Okay, thank you. I'm hoping somebody can confirm they can hear me. Can you hear me?
Have we all frozen again?
Hi. Oh, right.
Loud and clear. All right. Okay.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
Good.
Brilliant. Hi. Thank you, Kirsty. And I hope you all agree with me here on the chat that they were fantastic words from Kirsty. She's got a wealth of experience. And she's great to have as a boss in charge of our department. So I too had a slide deck, so I'm kind of going to change over to my slides to kind of remind me about my journey I'm going to be talking about here. So as Kirsty said there, it all started when she had a chance conversation with, she was at a management event that was bringing managers together across the business, and she had a chance conversation there with someone called Kate Nesbitt, and she was looking to roll out their career pathway program to the wider business. And she approached Kirsty. Kirsty thought this was a fantastic idea and was very keen to tap into the unknown talent that we had within the business. So that's where the journey started. So Kirsty asked me to get involved. Several conversations later, after speaking to Kate, we came up with a kind of a time frame and an approach that we would do for the pathway program. And the whole premise of the pathway program is to develop our staff and home grow our own talent. So it gives a fantastic opportunity to see what talent we had out there. And it's fair to say, once we approached the pathway program, we were blown away by the talent that was out there. It was quite inspiring and very humbling to be part of the process. For example, we had 7 people apply to the pathway program, and 7 people were interviewed, and 7 people were all perfectly capable of being appointable. Unfortunately, we only had 2 positions, and we had 2 standout candidates. But stepping back a little bit, so we knew that we had an unknown talent out there. We had people typically from a contact centre who may or may not have chosen to be there. Again, typically they would have been in that environment because they would have been taking that job to perhaps support their studies at university, college, whatever. And that is actually, on the whole, is what we found. We found everything from people with master's degrees to people who weren't as qualified but equally as passionate about working in IT. In terms of our advert, we wanted to be inclusive. We wanted to not only get across what we were looking for in terms of the individual, and we were looking for, I suppose, a positive attitude. We wanted someone who was able to problem solve, perhaps creatively. People who were team players, hugely important. If you've got someone who is working on their own, is willing to share their knowledge or share their ideas, how can you progress a project or a piece of work? It proves kind of problematic. And so that was the kind of things we were looking for. We didn't have an exhaustive list that said you need to have this software or Java or HTML front end, back end developer. We didn't set any of those expectations. What we did do was we told them what we had to offer them, and I think that's hugely important, especially when you are wanting to appeal to a wider audience, perhaps an audience that wouldn't necessarily think they had an opportunity to work in IT. So we were keen to, in our adverts, promote the fact that we were a team where we were happy, approachable, willing to help. We wanted them to reach their potential. We were willing to share our skills and experience. We were assigned a mentor. We were given on-the-job training. I think that is a hugely underestimated means of training someone. Often in IT, it's external companies seen as kind of a niche, but in our experience, you can do a lot within the workplace. We would be given on-the-job training, and we work in a modern and friendly environment. So all those things hopefully resonated with people. We certainly got 7 people who expressed an interest. All people were at different points in their career journey and all came from different backgrounds. As I said before, we interviewed 7 people, all were appointable. But the standout candidates for us were Nidhi and Marcel. And we were delighted that they chose to accept a placement with us. So when they initially came to us, they both had aspirations to be a front-end developer. I suppose because that's quite a visible thing, as Kirsty said before, not everyone knows of all of the opportunities and how wide-reaching they are. So that was their aspiration, was to be front-end developers. And just to, I suppose, give you a little bit of a few facts and figures of our department. We've got 120 people working in technology department, 60 of which work in our team, in the technology applications team. And just to kind of, I suppose, put some facts and figures around what Kirsty was saying before about the different opportunities. Of those 60 people in our team, only 16 people code. So in terms of the wider department, that's only 19% of our department code. Within our group team, that's 38%. So what are all the other people doing? Well, we've got managers. If you've got a lot of staff, you've got to have managers to manage your people. We've got testers. You have to test everything before it goes live. We've got manual testing, automated testing. We've got support staff. We've got user researchers, designers, experience. We've got tech analysts, DevOps engineers, and all of those things need different skills. So if you're analytical, you maybe want to go into tech analysis. If you like empathy, if you identify with people and are interested in what people have to say, maybe user research experience is something for you. Logical, maybe you do like to code. We have opportunities for coders. So I'm just going to go back to my screen to see if I've got any questions.
I haven't seen any, Angela. I've been keeping an eye out. I haven't seen any.
Because I couldn't see the screen because I'm on my presentation. I was anticipating working from a presentation, so that was a bit strange. So I shall go back. So if we fast forward now to I suppose to 9 months, me and Marcel were 6 months on a pathway program with ourselves, and we've managed to secure some extra time with them on their learning journey. So we're delighted to have them with us. Nidhi's secured herself a 6 months secondment on a very high profile project, and she's busy learning automated testing. And Marcel has progressed from wanting to do front end to having an absolute, when we said, oh, what about back end? He's now absolutely loving being a full stack developer. And I think that's really testament to the guys he's working with and the team managers and all the support that the guys have given him within our department. It is really fantastic to see that two people who had an aspiration to work in IT and thought they'd missed their opportunity because they had been working in a call centre for a period of time. They thought that opportunity passed them by, but it hadn't, because we recognised their talents and their passion for. And I think, as Kirste, you said before, it was that determination, that desire to succeed, that I think sees you through often, especially through the challenging times. I think you would agree with that, Kirste, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, I've got a question here. Any advice for people looking to get into front-end development? Right. So, Katie, I'm just going to ask you, so have you any previous experience, or will you be from scratch?
Well, if Katie can build a website but isn't on the professional experience side of it, then reach out to organisations and see whether they do any entry-level roles, any placement roles. By all means, connect with us, and our front end dev does not mind at all coaching, mentoring, supporting, having conversations with I'll just volunteer Sean up there, supporting other people. One of the things we are really strong at, we have a really strong ethos of helping others. Now that might be internally, but we also do a lot of stuff in our own time to support people who want to connect with us. So, for example, I'm working with an individual who's due to come out of the army in December, and we're supporting the conversations around her development. She's looking at cybersecurity as an area. We're doing some kind of shadowing conversations. I've connected her with a security guy, so it's not me, it's somebody else. But most certainly, Sean has done this himself as well, where he's connected with people who are interested in that front end dev side of things and point them in the right direction. But also look at things like GDS, Government Digital Standards. They're doing some really great free courses at the minute that you can kind of put under your belt as well, which then gives you something to talk about during an interview. It's about yourself. So yeah, same above, but looking for cybersecurity learning and experience. And again, exactly the same advice. So it is more around making sure that you're connecting with people. So Katie says she does have previous experience, fundamentals in Microsoft certification, mainly self-taught, built a website in previous job that was converting Shopify page into a standalone website. Great experience, Katie. And actually, it's about putting yourself out there as well. So I'll definitely get you to connect with a colleague of mine, Sean. So please do leave your details, and he's the best person to talk to about front end development and website development. They're all good guys. They'll give you advice and guidance and maybe help you to shape yourself. Sean, I can put you in touch with Tim. Tim is another really great individual who works alongside us, very, very supportive as well, and can point you in the right direction. Qualifications, yeah. So there are also as well, and we'll look out for this as well, guys. There's lots of apprenticeships coming out, degree apprenticeships and master's apprenticeships. Katie, I think if you message me, I think you can send a private message via Hopin. If not, then my LinkedIn details, I can share them now, which is just Kirste Worland. If you look up Kirste Worland on LinkedIn, you will find me. Just ping me there. Sorry, Sean, back to you. Develop skills and gain qualifications that would enable you to get into the industry. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, so there's lots of degree apprenticeships now, which is master's level as well. So Sunderland and Newcastle do master's degree apprenticeships in cybersecurity. So again, look out for any opportunities with organisations, or even maybe approach organisations and suggest you would be willing to trial the cybersecurity master's degree apprenticeship. I don't know, sometimes put yourself out there, connect with some people. All right, okay. Any other questions that we might have? Sorry, Angela, back to you again.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to go back to Katie in particular, but I think it's relevant to everybody. But if we look at Katie, she's got some absolutely fantastic examples there that she could use. So where I always start if I'm applying for a job is I take the job spec and the person spec and I highlight keywords and phrases. So when I'm writing up, up either my CV or I'm answering questions to apply for a job, I make sure that I tie my examples back to the job spec and the person spec. So for example, the fact that you built a website, that would cover many points. But equally, if you're a person and you didn't have or you hadn't experienced those skills, whatever examples you've got. So for example, if you'd worked in a team, everyone, teamwork's really important. So put those examples back to tie them into your job application. That's really important. Yeah. So over to you, Kirsty.
All right.
It's something that not everybody thinks to do, and it's quite an easy thing to put into practice.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple of little things that I want to kind of talk about. They're not little, but briefly I should be saying, is around the work that the Business Services Authority as a whole has done around diversity, equality and inclusion. So, I've talked a little bit about the veteran stuff, and we are signed up to the Armed Forces Covenant. We're also a disability confident leader, Step Into Health, and we're in the Stonewall Top 100 employees for 2020. And we've also just got our EN/E&I. I'm sorry, I find that really difficult to say. EN/E&I tied gold standard for the second year in a row, which is an amazing thing to have for the second year. So that's brilliant. And I think that demonstrates for me the commitment at the organizational level to try and be a really good employer and an employer of choice, to really focus on that. And it's not about ticking boxes, it's about really genuinely making sure that we listen to all of the talent we have within the organization, no matter what demographic they fit into. And more recently, one of the things that is literally being set up right now is different networks for Women's Network, a BAME network, a neurodiverse and disability network, and an LGBTQ network as well. And very much to try and make sure we have that engagement, we share information, and we all ensure that voices are heard and that we make space to hear some of those marginalized voices. So I wanted to kind of say as far as the strategy is concerned, having that at the organizational level has massively helped me and Angela, because I think if it's seen as a tick box, you don't have the same buy-in, and it has to be an ethos, it has to be a culture, it has to be a way of working. There is another question here from Iona. Does anyone know if it's possible to get into data analysis, science, or even AI without a degree, or would front-end development be more realistic as a way into tech? Okay, I don't have a degree in data analysis or science. My degree is in management and leadership. So I would say yes. I would say it depends on what it is that you actually want to do, and really, just to take us back to the conversation about Nidhi and Marcel. Nidhi and Marcel started off with very, they wanted to be front end developers. And actually, what we did with them is we tried them a bit on this and we tried them a bit on that. And we saw where they shone. And it was when they shone that we went, that's where you need to be. That's the place for you. That's what makes you sing. There's been a few different examples, but it is very much about where is it that you actually love. So Iona, what I would say to you is, what makes you shine, and let's work on that. Let's focus on that as something, because if you shine in that space, if that really sings to you and really resonates to you as an individual, you will put more effort in and you will give more importance and more attention to that. Laura, with so many people looking for jobs at the moment, how can someone without traditional tech experience get ahead of other candidates for a job who already have experience in tech? That's a great question. I think there are a number of entry-level roles, more entry-level roles now than there were previously. And sometimes you have to take a step back to take a step forward. And I will be very honest, that's what I did after. So I did that twice in my career. So coming into Sage and working in the customer service area, I actually took a step back into a junior application support role to then be able to move forward. And I did that leaving Sage. I was implementation manager at Sage, and I took a step back into a project support officer, I think it was the actual job title, to then be able to move forward. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. It worked for me. Sometimes it might be something that you have to consider doing, because if you keep your eye on the long-term goal and the long-term vision, you sometimes have to make challenging choices in the short term to enable you to move forward. It's one viewpoint. I'm not saying it's the right one, but it's something you might want to reflect on. Angela, I don't know if you've got anything you would add differently to that.
I think certainly in terms of entry level, I think, I'm not sure if we're typical, but I would like to think we are. There are others who think along the same lines as us, and we at entry level would look more for behaviours and potential. We're not looking necessarily for specifics. We would maybe expect that at a higher level. So for us, last year we took on 2 apprentices, both very different from each other. One was quite qualified in terms of IT skills, one wasn't, but what they both had was a really strong work ethic, and that for me shone through in their applications. So we look for many different things. You need a team to be made up of different people with different skills. So I think as long as you are confident in what you're bringing forward to the table is genuine, I think that tells the person who are doing the interviews an awful lot.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know that we have got any more questions. Oh, okay, thank you. Do you have any tips on how to find the area that really fits me, or how to find a mentor that could guide me? At the moment, I'm just doing online courses. I'm working full-time admin from home, so getting feedback from others is a little challenging at the moment. Iona, by all means, again, come and search me out on LinkedIn. There's some great women's networks out there. Angela and I can kind of put you in contact with some women's networks, but I'm quite happy to have a conversation with you offline and explore some. I ask some challenging questions, though, just so you know. But I'm happy to help you explore that. But I'm happy to help you explore that. That's no problem. And we might not get to the answer you want, but I can certainly ask some challenging questions that help you work out where you want to go. If that's it, that's a genuine offer. So please feel free to connect via LinkedIn.
And I suppose just to add to that, Kirsty, I'm a living, breathing example of that.
Bless you. All right. So we talked a little bit about having the support of culture, having the support at the strategy and the leadership level to enable that kind of diverse culture. And we've done a lot of stuff with outreach for students as well. Gosh, it's been quite a journey on the student outreach front in the last couple of years as well, because back to the start of my conversation, it's really for me around that long-term investment in talent and being able to support that journey throughout. And it might take us a couple of years to start seeing that come to fruition, but it is starting to come to fruition anyway. And last year we'd done some work with some of the students from Studio West, a local school, and we'd had one of the A-level students in for work experience, and he's a very quiet chap. He's very reserved. But because of the experience he'd had with us throughout his work placement for school, when it came to the apprenticeships being advertised last year, he applied, and he did a really good interview, good enough to secure an apprenticeship position, and he's now just completed his first year at Sunderland University as a degree apprentice in digital and technology. So that's great. Just to kind of think back to a question, earlier on, you don't always have to do a degree. Like I say, there are some really great courses with government GDS, but also there's some really great courses that just kind of give you tasters for stuff. And so there's a particular channel that'll come back to me to actually explore as well, where you can kind of sign up to do stuff. Plural site, I think it is. Before I conclude, I just want to give an offer for any other questions, because I just have one part and thought that I want to leave with people. We are at 2:25. I didn't think we could talk that long. When Angela and I talked about this originally, we were like, 45 minutes tops. That'll be, but we've managed 55 minutes, bizarrely. So if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Oh, brilliant. Melanie says she's given a presentation at 3:30, giving links to a number of courses available on tech. Fantastic. That's brilliant. Go and see Melanie then. Yay. So there is one final thought that I want to kind of leave people with. And again, it's another Michelle Obama quotation. She has great quotations, doesn't she? What an amazing lady she is. The quote itself is, "Don't ever underestimate the importance you can have, because history has shown us that courage can be contagious and hope can take on a life of its own." So what I took away from that is, what's unique about me? What can I actually contribute to other people? And actually being infectious, being supportive, and nurturing and helping other people actually helps. It goes around, it builds. And I'm really lucky to be surrounded by a bunch of people who have very similar thoughts to me and very similar approaches to life. So I do just want to leave you with that, and thank you very much for listening to Angela and I this afternoon. It's been great to talk at you. Good luck, everyone.